From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. A tropical storm, Hone, officially formed overnight. It's now heading towards Hawaii. Tropical storm watches are posted for the Big Island as folks there are really expecting rain and wind this weekend. Right now, the storm is still 700 miles away with maximum sustained winds of 45 miles per hour. It's expected to remain offshore, though, but could bring up to 8 inches of rain to the island. The storm will also generate life-threatening surf and rip currents. The National Weather Service says it will not produce the same conditions as last year's hurricane that helped to fuel Maui's deadly wildfires. Meantime, Hurricane Gilma is now a major Cat 3 storm with sustained winds of 120 miles per hour. It's not expected to threaten any land. Over in the Atlantic, things are very quiet. No hurricane activity is expected in the next week. This comes as we are entering what is typically the busiest part of hurricane season. Meteorologist Jenna Warner has more on the season within a season.
So while the season technically started June 1st, the most activity that we see in hurricane season falls between August 20th and October 10th. In fact, 2/3 of all hurricanes occur within this window. 51% of tropical storms, 62% of hurricanes, and 70% of major hurricanes all within this window. And we see this spike in activity because of atmospheric and environmental ingredients between these 3 months. We have low wind shear, we have warm sea surface temperatures, warm air, lots of moisture, and on top of that, the waves coming off the western coast of Africa are usually a bit more developed this time of year as well. So within this large area of possible areas that tropical systems could develop, that means that this peak in activity is much more likely, especially in September. Technically, the full peak of the season is September 10th. On top of this, South Carolina is no stranger to seeing hurricanes within the August 20th to October 10th window, but we can also see hurricanes after October 10th, such as Hazel and the Halloween hurricane. So that's why it is so important to stay vigilant and aware of the forecast through hurricane season, but especially in this window between August 20th and October 10th.
Here's a tale of two cities. Today's forecast for Seattle calls for a high of around just 60 degrees. In San Antonio, though, the overnight low was 83 degrees. It hit a record 106 degrees yesterday. And today should be another scorcher. Much of Texas is still baking under a heat dome with excessive heat warnings for Austin, Abilene, San Antonio, and Waco. The National Weather Service describes it as rare and long duration extreme heat with little to no overnight relief. Meantime, though, Phoenix is expected to reach 107 degrees today. When that happens, it will be the 89th consecutive day with temperatures at 100 degrees or higher. It's the longest stretch of triple-digit temperatures in state history. That streak began back on May 27th, and based on the forecast for the next week, there is no end in sight. Meteorologist Avery Tomasco says there's an underutilized tool you can use to stay cool on those very hot days.
And that is evaporative cooling. Take liquid water, for example. When you've changed the phase from liquid into water vapor, there's a phase change that happens there, and that phase change requires heat. That heat is drawn away from wherever that water is evaporating from. Evaporative cooling is perhaps obviously most effective when the air is extremely dry. That allows the sweat that your body produces to evaporate more quickly. The cooling effect is better, and we're feeling better as a result. The opposite is true when humidity is abundant in the atmosphere. When there's a lot of humidity, you can sweat and sweat all day, and sometimes it's just not going to evaporate, and you're not going to get that cooling effect. But when we see our hottest days of the year, like we had on Wednesday, 109 degrees in Austin, there's something unique that happens in our atmosphere. Let's start in the morning hours under the influence of high pressure. In the morning hours, the atmosphere is more stable. It stratifies in layers, and the bottom layer of the atmosphere is usually dominated by Gulf of Mexico moisture, which comes in off the Gulf, makes it humid in the morning hours. But when the sun starts beating down, that's when we actually can get a bit of a benefit. As the sun rises, it heats the atmosphere in the boundary layer shown here, and when that happens, it's like a convection oven. What rises from the surface comes back down to the surface. That actually brings that mixing air, that lower humidity, down to the surface. So my advice, if you have to be outside when it's this hot outside, misting fan. That helps get you that evaporative cooling potential, can keep you safe.
When temperatures soar outdoors, it doesn't take very long for the heat inside of a car to become dangerous. Meteorologist Joe DiCarlo shows us how quickly it can happen.
We're just outside our studios around 1:30 p.m. and the current air temperature is 102 degrees in San Antonio. We're going to do an experiment. 2 thermometers in 2 air-conditioned vehicles, one sitting in the sun, one sitting in the shade. We're going to turn them off to find out how hot it gets inside the vehicle after 30 minutes. We're able to view the temperatures of both thermometers on one screen. On top is the car that's in the sun. The bottom is the car that's in the shade. They both started in the 90s, with the car in the sun a few degrees cooler to start. After just 10 minutes, the one in the sun reached the one that's in the shade. After 20 minutes, the one in the sun began to rise quicker and reached temperatures well over 100 degrees. After 30 minutes, the inside of the car in the sun was 115 degrees, and the inside of the car in the shade was 105 degrees, both extremely dangerous to anyone that may be inside. That is why hot car deaths are so common in the United States. Data shows 37 children die per year from being left unattended in a hot vehicle. We spoke with local paramedic Jeremy Tinoco about the dangers.
And once their body temperature reaches, or core temperature reaches 107 degrees, we're now talking brain damage and other body organs start shutting down.
Jeremy gives an important suggestion that could just save a life.
Take that extra time, put your phone down, hang something in your car that says, hey, kids in the back seat. You're just doing everything you can to make sure you don't leave them.
When it comes to heat and temperature, clouds can be a major factor, especially at night. Meteorologist Evan Chick-Vera posted on Instagram recently about how clouds can keep us warm, just like a blanket.
So depending on where you're at here this morning, we have something we didn't have yesterday, and that's a lot more cloud cover. It's still a partly cloudy sky, but it's something that's interesting with temperatures overnight. Of course, I see this because I do the mornings, and I'm looking at temperatures every day. When you wear a blanket, right, it keeps you warm. It keeps you nice and cozy. The Earth's surface, clouds are the blanket. This morning, we were 12 degrees warmer in Gadsden because it was cloudy. The clouds kept in the heat from yesterday, so we didn't cool. On the flip side, if you live over in Jasper, if you live in Haleyville, it was 61, but skies were clear. So clear skies typically yield the best cooling overnight. That's where you get your coolest temperatures. Clouds will bust an overnight low and cause things to be warmer. Just a little weather tidbit for you.
Some changes this week on drought conditions across the country. Meteorologist Steve Rudin has details.
Brand new drought monitor for the continental United States is now in, and we've had a little bit of improvement out there. Let's start off in the mid-Atlantic, and we can see that's getting a little bit better, but still extreme drought for parts of West Virginia. Then as you head into southwestern or southeastern Ohio, heading a little bit closer here, Charleston over toward Parkersburg, all looking at extreme drought right now. Head down to the deep south, Jackson, not so bad. It's just dry, but then you head over to northern Mississippi, and that's where you're in moderate to severe drought. Southwest United States, especially over toward Texas, looking at that extreme drought that continues. And then you head to the Pacific Northwest, still looking at extreme drought for parts of Washington State, and then into extreme western Montana. And things are not getting a whole lot better there, at least not anytime soon. A bit of wet weather is on the way from now through Tuesday, especially across Seattle over toward Portland. And then you head back over to Texas, where they really need the wet weather. They need it right here. And notice absolutely no wet weather on the way. I'm meteorologist Steve Rudin from WJLA in Washington, D.C.
Volcano in Iceland erupted again last night for the 6th time since December. Lava is now spewing through a new fissure southwest of the capital. The good news here is that authorities believe the eruption will remain localized and not threaten the population. Unlike previous eruptions, the lava is not heading for a coastal community. And here's a sight right here to behold, and they attracted lots of attention. 2 water spouts twirling off the coast of Palm Beach, Florida on Thursday. They grow closer together as they spin, but the question here, will they actually join together? It appears that they did and danced a few steps together before separating into 2 distinct spouts. Once more, water spouts are essentially tornadoes that form over water, but unlike tornadoes, they can also form in fair weather conditions. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll find out why a rare fish has been washing up on an Oregon beach, and we'll find out why some parts of the country saw fall-like temperatures this week.
I'm meteorologist Ryan Munn. As we look at the Northeast through the day on Friday, a beautiful day overall. Temperatures are going to run in the 70s and 80s. We'll see lots of sunshine, just some afternoon clouds across the area, and then much of the same for your day on Saturday, but maybe a little more in the way of cloudiness in the southern part of New England as we head through the morning and afternoon. The high temperatures as we head through the daytime today are going to be on the mild side. We're looking at 70s up towards the north, low 80s south.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Bailey. Here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Your Friday and Saturday are shaping up to be pretty nice. A few degrees warmer each day, but we're nice and dry. Just a few afternoon clouds, and we're talking about some scattered cumulus clouds, maybe a little more towards the mountains, and still looking very nice otherwise. Our temperatures and humidity are slowly stepping up. Low 80s along the low altitudes, higher altitudes, mid-70s. We're going to be looking at the same for your Saturday, just a few degrees warmer each place.
I'm meteorologist Venus Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs. We're looking at 85 degrees in Atlanta, 89 in Birmingham, 84 in Jacksonville, 89 in West Palm. Slightly cooler in Charleston at 81, 82 in Raleigh. A little bit of cloud cover from some of the coastal rain that's out there. We'll see 90s back to the west where there's more sunshine. So plenty of sun over Memphis, Atlanta, Birmingham, Huntsville looking pretty good, Jackson, Mississippi. But you can see along the coastline 95 looking at some clouds through the afternoon. Spotty showers through the afternoon in Florida.
Oh, wow. Did you see the fireball in the sky last night? The American Meteor Society received reports from a dozen states, from Alabama to Ohio and Missouri to North Carolina. It happened around 9:45 Eastern time. There are no reports so far that the likely meteor fell to the Earth's surface. If it did, it would be called a meteorite. This week, we have been talking a lot about hurricanes, and it's been 1 year since California was hit with an historic one. Meteorologist Aaron Perlman looks back at Hurricane Hilary and what made it so rare.
And yeah, let's look at it. So it began August 16th, the tropical storm. When it started, okay, it's just a little dicey here, and then it becomes an official hurricane the next day on the 17th at 75 miles per hour. It's a Category 1 hurricane. And then during the same day, less than 24 hours later, it becomes a pretty significant hurricane, Category 3, running up to 125 miles per hour. And then it clocks up to 145 mile per hour wind speeds at a Category 4 the next day. And OMG, here it comes into the California Baja Peninsula. But then it dies down. And as it gets closer to inland, it does start to die down. But it remains strong enough, going right into San Diego, the Inland Empire, and then right into Kern County. For the first time ever, a tropical storm hits Kern County. Now it's downgraded, but 55 mile per hour wind speeds. We've never seen a storm like this ever hit California, for this matter, in history.
West Virginia has been dealing with extreme drought conditions that are not improving. Meteorologist Dante Ricky explains what's happening.
Well, on dry and sunny days, that allows the air to heat up very quickly. However, the thing is, we're in a period of drought around here. Without any clouds in the sky, it can easily get up into the 70s as well. The air heated up in an uneven fashion. However, we really need some rain. The soil has a low moisture content, and that has a major impact when we get towards nightfall, because that allows even more air to cool down. Low moisture also correlates to lower temperatures. So what would be a 50-degree temperature at night may end up getting into the 40s. And on top of that, the dryness of the soil continues to dry its way out. You get the biggest cooling, though, on cloud-free evenings, simply because more of that heat energy can escape as latent heat. The clouds serve both as a positive feedback and a negative feedback when it comes to our environment. So it turns out our warmest nights are those which are cloudy outside, and our coolest ones are those without cloud cover. However, this abnormally dry and big-time drought condition will continue to make things worse in terms of lower temperatures at night and also a continuing dry out pattern of our soils and our ground as well.
2 sunfish washed up on an Oregon beaches within months of each other. While one of them is more common to see in the state, the other one was really rare. Allison Guttleberg tells us more.
A 5-foot fish washing ashore on the Oregon coast. The mola mola, or ocean sunfish, was first spotted on August 15th. The Seaside Aquarium reports the fish was not fully grown, as the species usually grows up to 10 feet and weighs around 5,000 pounds. Assistant manager Tiffany Booth says the aquarium normally sees sunfish wash up during the summer months.
In the summer, they follow the warm water current that the tuna follow, so it's not unusual for them to be off the coast or to wash ashore around this time of year.
The ocean sunfish is the most common sunfish to wash up, but the Oregon coast also got a rare treat this summer. A hoodwinker sunfish, also known as the moloteca, washed up on Gerhardt Beach. The fish was identified by a researcher in New Zealand in 2014.
This fish has probably been roaming around in the oceans for hundreds of millions of years, but it looks so similar to an ocean sunfish that people just didn't recognize the difference between the two species.
Well, it's time to check your trees to make sure they're healthy. August is Tree Check Month, according to the USDA, and they want you to keep an eye out for an invasive beetle that is harmful to hardwood trees. We'll get details from meteorologist Trevor Robideau.
It's called the Asian longhorned beetle, and it's something you need to be on the lookout for.
It'll be black with little white spots or splotches on its body and very long antennae. The antennae are going to have black and white alternating bands on them.
This species is invasive and has been a major problem for forested areas in the U.S. since the mid-90s, attacking and destroying over 12 different types of hardwood trees.
ALB actually goes deep into the wood. So it will go almost to the center of the tree as that larva is growing, getting bigger. And then eventually when it pupates, becomes an adult, it'll chew its way out, creating round holes, which are called exit holes. And they're large enough that you'd be able to stick a pencil into.
This process will eventually destroy the tree, and in almost every case, there is nothing that can be done about it. Trees will need to be removed to stop further infestation. In some states, thousands of trees in natural areas and neighborhoods have been taken down.
Then those tunnels, when they're deep enough in there, you might not notice those pits, but that removal of the inner wood makes that structural integrity very little.
This means that preventative measures are very important.
It would be horrible, right? Because, even with sugar maple, it would reduce the amount of sugar maple syrup possibly if it were to get out and not be found in time to be controlled.
To prevent its spread, Nelson says it is crucial to check for infested firewood or logs before traveling.
If people bring infested firewood to a new area, they don't realize that it has the eggs or the larva in it, and then, it tunnels out. That's how overland spread to different areas, especially, hundreds of miles away.
Well, we talked earlier about the heat in Texas and cooler temps in other parts of the country. This is the kind of content we also post on our social media accounts. Here's a TikTok post from meteorologist Christian Bridges that we shared yesterday and just how cool things got for some areas.
Have you been enjoying the early taste of fall? We've seen it all across the eastern United States thanks to our friend, this big, powerful cold front that has crossed the entire eastern U.S., somewhat unusually making it all the way down to the Gulf Coast and bringing that dry air all the way into the southern U.S. This was a look at temperatures this morning, August 22nd. You can see 50s down, even into parts of the south, feeling really refreshing. And even if you didn't get down into the 50s, that dry air has made it feel really, really nice. In fact, it's been so cool in some spots, we've set some record lows. The cool temperatures have been most pronounced over the Ohio Valley and into the mid-Atlantic. And this morning, we set dozens of record lows, including some all-time cold coldest August temperatures as well this morning. So yeah, pretty impressive cold front. Our taste of false fall not going to last, however, as warm temperatures look to return to the eastern United States as we head into this weekend.
And time now for a short break, but first we take in views of Florida's John Dickinson State Park.
Well, a very good Friday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. We got a little bit of rain across part of the Midwest for the day today for your next weather maker sliding its way through. And temperatures are going to be heating up as we go into the weekend. Tomorrow, we're getting into the triple digits there in Kansas, and we're getting into the 90s across a lot of the Midwest on Saturday. And if you're not in the 90s on Saturday, it spreads even more by Sunday. Lincoln, Nebraska getting up to 101 there on Sunday. So temperatures heating up as we go through the weekend with just a few pockets of rain.
Good Friday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region, starting out with those pretty warm, stuffy temperatures. A number of areas that are in the 80s to get the day started. The afternoon, we'll look for low 90s to 100 plus, Dallas to Amarillo. Maybe a shower thunderstorm along southeastern Texas to the Gulf Coast of Louisiana. Here's Saturday's forecast, and it'll be mostly to partly sunny day. Most of the region rain-free. Might be able to get a shower or thunderstorm with a sea breeze there along the southeast coast of Texas.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. We have temperatures well below normal from California all the way up across the Pacific Northwest. We could be getting some record cool high temperatures. In addition to the record cool, we've got a lot of rainfall tracking in. Good for the firefighting efforts, but south of that, because of a cold front, gusty winds are enhancing the critical and extensive fire danger. Monsoon moisture continues showers and thunderstorms across the Four Corners. That's the scene from here.
The National Weather Desk.
Thursday brought an unpredictable mix of weather to southern Utah. Sun followed by winds and then heavy rains. Liv Kelleher was in Zion National Park where visitors had to rethink their plans because of the weather conditions.
People in the area received an emergency alert to their phones warning them of flash floods. Popular hiking destinations like the Narrows have been closed due to this risk. Scott Nasson, who has visited Zion 8 times, says the rain gives him the opportunity to experience the park in a new way. He says even with his hiking experience, he always heeds the warnings of the park rangers.
We always listen to what the rangers are saying, especially if we're going to go up into the Narrows, because it's so unpredictable and we don't come out here enough to really know it like they know it. So if they tell us to stay away, we stay away and we'll choose to do some other hikes other than ones that are going to be potentially dangerous.
If you're looking for more content about the weather, be sure to follow us on social media. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk, and we will be right back. And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Friday and have a wonderful weekend.